I remember when I went to On It, I didn't have a lot of self-awareness in my own body and where I thought my positioning at, and I thought what I was activating, I've been activating. And then when they started cueing me and say, hey, activate your core, put your shoulders here, put back here, keep your head here, push back. And all of a sudden I was like, holy, I'm hardly using any weight. And I am getting a lot of out of this. And I was not aware that I wasn't activating or even had positioning of my body where I thought it was. Hey, what's going on? Welcome to Healthy Living Wichita podcast with Go Time Training. I'm your host, Raymond Elliott, lead personal trainer at Go Time Training in Northeast Wichita, Kansas. I've been in the fitness industry for over 20 years now, and I've seen it all. This podcast cuts through all the fads and gimmicks to give you a science-based truth on all things fitness and nutrition, so you don't have to try to figure it out on your own. If you want to live happier and healthier and get the scoop on how to work out, eat right, and keep a positive mindset, you're in the right place. It's go time. Now, let's get to the show. So, welcome to Healthy Living Wichita. It is me, Raymond Elliott here, and I'm with my esteemed colleague and guest. So we are back into the place, Mr. Caleb Campbell. Right? So, yeah, got you. Is that your right name?
Yep, that's it. You got it right.
I said it like I didn't know. We got Caleb Campbell. Anyways, Caleb's been on here before. He's kind of our psychological genius out here, and so he's always kind of the go-to when we're looking at mindset and different aspects. But in case people haven't seen some of your our podcasts in the past, go ahead and introduce yourself there, sir.
Sure, thank you.
You're welcome.
My name's Caleb, like you said. Got a master's
right?
in kinesiology with a background in psych. A lot of training as far as personal training, group training, small fitness training, individual training. As far as that goes, I've been doing that for a few years now, so I'm really liking that. But other than that, I've been here for a few months now, and I'm really loving Go Time.
Okay. What is there not to love about it, right?
Yeah.
So, as you know, this podcast is always about just trying to bring science and muddle through everything and just really, give you guys some things that you guys can do, and maybe sometimes things that you haven't even thought of. A lot of times we're looking at what is low calorie, what type of diet can we do, what is the best exercise to build an Instagram booty, whatever it may be, which is all very important. And Instagram booty is extremely important. But some of the things, the small things that the myths and the things we don't think about make a lot of importance. And so that's what I want to actually talk about is the things that we need to think about. So we talked a little bit we've talked with Jake and also Skylar about there's a lot of new data is coming up with the mind and muscle connection and how there's actually now we've always thought about it, really thinking about emphasizing your exercises and all that aspect, but now there's actually studying it a lot more, and they're seeing a lot of data where that actually proves that if you have a more mind to muscle connection that you actually improve your results and your progress. So kind of just wanted to talk to you a little bit about that, more about some of that self-talk and that intrinsic feedback that you give yourself and that attention to exercise. How is that important? And why were our viewers? Why would that help them out in their progress?
Sure. So when it comes to focus, we think it's pretty simple. Either you're focusing on something or you're not. But really, there's a lot of things that go into it. Especially when you're exercising. Why it's important for exercise? I mean, you're lifting or moving heavy objects. If you move wrong and you're distracted or you're not paying attention, you don't have that muscle-mind connection. You might end up hurting yourself, or you have a higher risk for injury at least. So that's the main reason why it's so important. You don't want to get hurt, obviously. But first things first, I mean, when you get into it, like you said, that mind-muscle connection, that's part of the association. That's what that's called. You have association and disassociation, or distraction. Association is when you're connecting that mind-body, you're observing or monitoring your heart rate, your pulse rate, your muscle tension, stuff like that. The inner things that you feel on the inside, things that you can feel, things that you can think of. Whereas disassociation, that's more of you're thinking of something outside the box. Like you might be doing a push-up right then and there, but you're thinking about doing your laundry, or you're thinking about what meal prep you're going to do for the week. Your mind's on something else. So that's disassociation. Or you can be distracted as well by many things. Like music, for one, can be distracting, but it also can be a motivator as well. But things like that, you have to kind of pay attention to when you should pay attention to which one. Is there certain times you should pay attention to the muscle tension and what you're feeling and your heart rate and stuff like that? Or is it a time to disassociate and think about something else and get your mind off of the current situation? So there's different things like that.
Yeah, both can be beneficial. I know that from myself. It's kind of weird, but as much as I love go time and love working here, when I'm here, I'm at work.
Yeah.
And so my attention is always there because that's, my brain says, hey, when you're at go time, your attention is work. So when I'm working out, I'm thinking about, the podcast, or I'm thinking about development processes, or I'm thinking about programs I have to create, or I'm getting text messages.
Yeah.
And so my attention in my workout is like, I'm doing it just so I could do it to get down. But I really don't have as much focus. But when I go, honestly, I go to another gym. And when I go and work out there, it's different. I'm no longer at work. My job's not there. I disassociate myself with everybody there. I put in my headphones and I go to work. And it's funny because when I actually started doing that not too long ago, I checked my in-body, and I can actually pull that up. But I actually, just from going and getting more intention and working out harder and putting more into it, I actually saw a pretty increase in lean body mass and a decrease in body weight, which for an avid lifter, somebody like me, it's very difficult to do that muscle recomposition. But pretty much the only thing that I really changed was just my own intention and focus into my exercises.
Yeah.
I wasn't on my phone. I wasn't answering emails. Well, I might have been on my phone a little bit, but I wasn't as much.
Yeah.
And when I was working out, I really, really thought about my exercises and got into them and enjoyed and got that pump and had that good feeling that we love so much when you kill a workout and really focused into it.
And that's a great example, because when we think about it, it depends on the situation you're in. Are you working out alone? Yeah, it's okay to disassociate, maybe take your time and breaks and recovery, and just enjoy it a little bit, be present in the moment. And as you're doing the exercises, maybe be present at that time. But then you want to, afterwards, in that recovery stage, kind of distract yourself, get your mind off of it, free your mind a little bit. And you can even think about working out with a trainer in a group exercise class. You might be listening to music in the background, but you're not necessarily wearing headphones, because you have to hear those attentional cues from your coach, and you also want to pay attention to your form and make sure you're doing it right. So that being said, when you're training, that's why a lot of times you're getting more of an effective workout, because you are focusing on what you're doing and being present in the moment rather than being distracted by other things, or just being lazy. Like when you come in and work out on your own, I mean, most people, they just slack a little bit. Not saying they're lazy, but they just lay off just a little bit. You're not going to push yourself as hard. Exactly.
A lot of times, because we are us, and we try not to be. We try not to rationalize things. And some people, you can push yourself hard regardless of what situation is. But it seems a lot of times someone's always going to push harder. And I think a personal trainer, because myself, I as you see through this podcast, I like to talk a lot. And I can be Gabby, and I become very close friends with a lot of my clients, and I love them. And there's some times where I have to check myself and say, okay, make sure this client is focused, so I can even be a deterrent to them, or I can keep them focused. I remember when I went to On It, and I didn't have a lot of self-awareness in my own body, and where I thought my positioning at, and I thought what I was activating, I've been activating. And then when they started cueing me and say, hey, activate your core, put your shoulders here, put back here, keep your head here, push back. And all of a sudden I was like, holy, I'm hardly using any weight, and I am getting a lot of out of this. And I was not aware that I wasn't activating or even had positioning of my body where I thought it was the whole time. So it could be a both benefit. If you have somebody helping you and giving you those feedbacks where you can feel those things and have that awareness, that could be great. Or you can have somebody that is keeping away from your attention, and that could be a negative thing as well. So
exactly.
I won't try to do that to anybody ever again. But
But that brings me to my next point too. Is are you learning something? Because if you are, you're probably in a novice or beginner stage. Is there a difference between a novice and an expert, or somebody who's more advanced and been in exercise or their sport for a given period of time? Of course there is. I mean, the person who's advanced or who's an expert, they've been doing it for longer. They've practiced it for longer. So they're able to do those for things where they're focusing their selective attention on what's going on. They're able to hold that attention through the whole exercise when necessary, and they're able to switch their attention when necessary. So all that comes into play when you're exercising, being able to switch back and forth. And because some people think of, oh, it's either one or the other. I'm either focusing associative on the inner parts, the inside, how I feel, or I'm dissociated by thinking of other things, or I'm distracted. It's not one or the other. It's not a dichotomy. It's more of a continuum.
Dichotomy.
And so,
sorry, I just like that word.
Continuum, you're going to either ebb and flow. You're going to go back and forth. You're going to be in one state at one point, and then you're going to go over here for the next time. So you're going to go back and forth. It's not one or the other. And everybody's different too. Personality styles can more people who are motivated by distraction might be more motivated this way with disassociation and distraction, whereas some other people might be more motivated or concentrating more when they're focusing more on themselves and how they feel and their heart rate and stuff like that.
Sweet. Yeah. So that's kind of cool. Like heart rate monitor. I never really thought about that, but it does give you an insight on your own. So you actually am focusing more on what your body's actually doing, because you actually have real time to show at least one. I mean, we know that it's not a great indicator on complete intensity in your workouts and calorie burn, but you do have a little bit more focus as a visual focus versus of just your own internal feedback. You actually have something that you can look at and actually tell you how hard you're working, how hard you're not working, which could get you a little bit more in tune with your body and those aspects. So that's a beneficial fact I've never really thought about as much. But that's cool. So I always like to try to provide some kind of something that, that people can, obviously they can learn. I hope every people is being educated. That's our biggest thing here, why I want to do that. But, things that maybe they can take away. Is there things that people can do to help them with this attention association, dissociation, mind to muscle, like, help them do a better job of it if they're not, or just improve whatever they're doing at this point?
Yeah, of course. I mean, for most people, they don't practice stuff like this on a regular basis, so this is new to them. Learning how to concentrate or be present in the moment, especially in our fast-paced world. We're always going. So to slow down and focus on what's going on is very important, especially in exercise. I know personally with me, what's helped me is just practice. I mean, especially with exercise, when you're using self-dialogue and you're talking to yourself, the more you practice that, the easier it gets, and the more autonomous, more automatic it gets. So that's really the key thing, is just using that self-talk kind of as a mediator and a motivator. It's there to help you push past your points where you're stuck, and it's also there to help motivate you when you're not feeling as motivated. But using that self-talk or that inner dialogue is huge. Changing, one of the ways you can do it is changing any negative thoughts to positive thoughts. So instead of thinking, oh, this is too hard, or this class looks horrible because of all these exercises, you turn it around and you think of it as a positive. You know what? If I can knock out one rep, one set at a time, think of it more in smaller increments, that's more of a positive, and that seems more doable, more achievable for people. And that'll increase their confidence over time, and they'll get better at doing that. Another inner dialogue point besides changing your negative thoughts to positive thoughts is actually called thought stopping. So just completely, if you feel like you're thinking of something and it's not positive, or it's not uplifting, and it's not sympathetic or compassionate, then it's not going to affect you as well as something that's sincere or nice or realistic. So you actually have to change that, stop those thoughts immediately where they're at, and say, you know what, that's not realistic. This is what I can do, and kind of reassure yourself that you're able to do that. I think I can. That phrase is always a good one. So
I think I can. Yeah. So it's amazing. I read a book not too long ago, and it had a lot to do with self-talk. It was pretty cool. It was actually an Audible, and the guy was Scottish, so that made it really interesting Audible. Riding a bike, but it just really that's one thing what I really love about books, is that you do a lot of self-talk, because as you're reading them, you start to do self-inventory, you start to think about things, and I think that's the beauty of it. I don't think it's always what's in it. I think it's the fact that you start to internalize what it says, and you start to ask yourself those questions. But I think self-talk is something that we do probably even more than we realize. And then it has a larger dramatic effect on everything in life and how we have that self-talk, how we rationalize and how we focus ourselves. And I think that we can focus ourselves even more in exercise, even think about how we're going to do the exercise, how we're going to feel through the exercise, how we want to feel through the workout, how we're going to accomplish it, like you said, if it's going to be a positive thing, how we look at, going to exercise or going to work or whatever it is, the whole I get to, the I have to type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So there's a lot of self-talk just in the motivation, in the pleasure, in the enjoyment, and the positivity that you're going to have during an event, but also maybe the self-talk about thinking about how you're going to go through that exercise. How is it going to feel? I don't think about those things, but maybe I should. Like, hey, this is how I'm going to hold myself. I'm going to remember to do this, and I'm going to squeeze here, and I'm going to feel all these different ways. And this is how I want to feel when I get done with this workout. I want to feel tired in my chest and sore here, or refreshed, or whatever I want to feel, less stressed. How I want to feel through my workout is huge. And I know I've asked my clients sometimes before the workouts, how do you want to feel during this workout? Do you want to feel tired? Do you want to feel refreshed? Do you want to feel like you killed it? Do you want to feel exhausted? Do you want to feel where you want to feel it at? All those good things. So
yeah,
I think self-talk is huge in every aspect in our lives, and we live with ourselves. We don't think about it.
I mean, a lot of times it's not even us talking ourselves into doing something that we should do. It's a lot of times it's talking ourselves out of something that we should do. I mean, like coming to the gym, for instance, or eating something at home. Yeah, you have that conversation in your head, but most of the time, what do? We choose that, I don't want to do it, or I'm going to eat it anyway. So you are having that self-dialogue already. You just got to kind of control that dialogue to turn it into a positive, turn it into an I can. This is what I want. Like you said, I'm not being forced to. Nobody's holding a gun against my head making me do this. I want to do this, so it's my choice. It becomes more of a choice, and then you're willing to do it, and that becomes more sustainable over long term.
Sweet. Any other aspects so far, just like intrinsic feedback or self-talk, or some things that you think that may be some little nuggets that are wonderful viewership out there in Wichita, Kansas, and surrounding the world can take and maybe utilize to help them just have better workouts and have better focus and have better results and maybe even have better lives? If we can do that, that's even good.
Maybe just there's different kinds too. You can either have a broad focus or a narrow focus, an external or an internal focus. So a broad focus, you're focusing on multiple things simultaneously. A narrow focus, you're more focused on one or two things at a time. With an external focus, you're obviously focused on things outside of your control, maybe somebody else doing something, or if you're playing a sport, maybe you're focusing on a ball that you're going to hit, or a puck or something like that.
That's what I do.
And
softball.
Then internal, you're focusing more on your thoughts and feelings. So when you think of those different things, and you think of exercise, most of the time in training and exercise, you're going to be more of narrow and internal. So you're going to only be thinking about one or two things, and you're really going to focus on your form, your technique, your breathing, your muscle tension, and stuff like that. And then, like I said, the more you practice, the more advanced you get, the more you're able to focus on different things at a time. So at the beginning in the learning stages, yes, it's good to focus on one thing at a time, but as you go, you might be able to, okay, this is becoming more automatic, so now I can think about this over here. And so you start thinking about things that you wouldn't think about in the beginning.
Right, yeah.
So just growing in that aspect is a good way. And the only way to really do that is consistency. You just got to get in here, practice over and over again consistently. And that's the same thing with inner dialogue. It doesn't come naturally. You just got to practice.
Create mastery. Yeah, that was actually a podcast that I was gonna do. Happy that you're here, but I was gonna do just my own solo talk to myself, which I don't like to do very much in my head, as we talked about self-talk, but not out loud. But even though I do like to hear my own voice, my wife says that a lot of times. But so shout out to you, Monica. But was gonna really talk about just some of those myths of like muscle confusion out there, and like how there's muscle confusion, and just kind of go through some of the different data on that. But that's one of those things is that if you're doing things all the time differently, it's really hard to master, and that to become more of autonomous, more of a subconscious thing to do, that you get that. And that's what I always tell people, like I want to teach people how to do proper things here, but where those are automatic outside of here. When someone's telling you, push your hips back, push through your heels, squeeze your glutes, that's one thing. And then all of a sudden they go to lift something else outside of here and they don't. So you want to master exercise and those become normal. That way, when you start to focus on things, so like maybe when they're going to pick up their kid, they are doing that. Or when they're in here, like you said, they can focus on other things. So muscle fusion is a myth. That's not true at all anyways. But that's why it is kind of important, like you said, to have consistency and maybe having some foundational exercises that you can continue to prove on, because you can basically have more attention in certain areas, or be able to have more attention outside of just that, because you have mastered that exercise, that movement, at least that basic movement, and then you can add to that movement.
Yeah. Right. I can't tell you how many clients I've had where I've said, like you said, pick this up right, use your legs, not your back. And then, or when you're walking, focus on your feet, keep your toes pointed forward or your legs in. I can't tell you how many clients I've said that have came and told me during our session, hey, I was at work or I was at home, and you know what, I noticed my feet this way, so I changed it. I was like, well, that's conscious awareness right there.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have had that unless we talked about it. So that's progress, and it starts there, and then it just evolves from there.
So hopefully it becomes
more natural.
More natural, yeah. But sometimes you have to put attention.
Yeah.
And think about those
and that's
things.
really a lot. And some of those things you can't be fixed. So it's just really awareness and being conscious of it during the movement.
Yeah. So I think kind of what I got from it, you're so smart, it's hard for me to gather everything. But what I've got from it is that having attention into what you're doing is extremely important. And there's two different aspects of it. There's actually your physical feedback and those thought process and having attention into your workouts. But there's also a mental aspect of the way that you feel about a certain thing. Your emotional part of those aspects is huge. And then there's a association in where you're like focusing on one thing, but it's also okay not to during certain parts and figuring those out.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's probably like 30 other things in there that I missed, but those are kind of the big points. And I think people can take away is just start off with just trying to think when you come in here, change your way of thought, and have more attention into your programming, and do things consistently so you can master those. Yeah. Or probably some really good areas that everybody can kind of start to think about and mold into. Next time they go work out.
Yeah. I mean, personally, there's times where I like to focus solely on the mind connection when I'm really trying to get a good workout in. But then there's times I like to just, listen to some music and relax and get my mind off things. And so really it just depends on your mood, and it depends on how you feel, and it depends on the purpose. And there's a lot that goes into it. So I just tell you all, just mess around with it a little bit. Go into something and try one way. And if that doesn't get you what you want, or you don't feel good about that, try a different way, or try thinking about other things. Or try listening to music. Try finding what's best for you in that moment, because every situation is going to be different, and every person is going to be different in that situation. So depending on, if it's association or dissociation or distraction, you just got to practice with it and find what works for you. And like I said, when you move from beginner or novice to expert, that might change and evolve, and you just might be able to grow from there. So.
Sweet. Well, thank you for all that information. I hope you guys got all that. You can always replay. That's the nice thing about every aspect of this, is that we always have that rewind button and that replay button and all those things. You can see Caleb's beautiful face over and over again telling you the same thing. So anyways, you guys, self-talk out there, be aware of it, be aware of your attention, be aware of your body, be aware of what you're doing. Those things are going to help pay dividends. There's a lot to do with the mind-muscle connection, and as more research comes out, we're starting to see how that really can help progress and really just help people, have success and sustainable success. So
a lot of research has pointed that there's association between concentration and peak performance. I mean, not just during sport, but a lot of it is in athletes, but I mean, any average person on the street can come in here in the gym and see the difference if they put practice into it.
So. Well, I'm going to work out today, so I'm going to put some of these into process. I get to work out today. I'm going to be positive. Yeah. I can't wait to do it, and I'm really going to try to think about everything that I do when I go through there. So we'll see how it works out. I'll put the comments. I'll put it on there. So thank you so much, Caleb. Appreciate you. Have a wonderful day, everybody out there. We love you, and take care. Thank you for listening to the Healthy Living Wichita podcast with Go Time Training. If you enjoyed today's show and want to get started with your own fitness journey, I'd love to help kickstart your goals. How do 4 60-minute personal training sessions for $99 with me sound? Head over to www.gotimetraining.com/podcast to claim yours. I can't wait to meet you